everybody, welcome back to a new video. So today we're in a bit of a different location. So these are actually my TBR shelves, which are full from top to bottom. But thought that I would show you guys all of my unread classics, and those are basically on these two shelves. And since there's so many books and this video would be forever long if I told you guys what they're about, I'm just gonna show you which books I have and like what publisher it is, so you can find them for yourself if you are interested. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into much details about the books because we'd be here for hours. So let's get started. So the first book we have is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. This is a Wordsworth Classics. I've had this one for like 8-9 years. Still haven't read it. My big shame in life. I should read it. And then we have Dracula by Bram Stoker. I love these editions, they're so pretty. And this is Penguin Books. And then we have the Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is the Mina Lima edition. We also have The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, also Mina Lima edition. And we have The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. So beautiful. Oh, look at those end pictures. And this is the Barnes & Noble letterbound edition, I believe. And we have The Story of King Arthur and His Knights by Howard Pyle as well. So pretty. Greek Myths, a Wonder Book for Girls and Boys by Nathaniel Hawthorne. This is also in the Barnes & Noble. I really should read this one because it's so short. And we have Jules Verne and his 7 novels. So this is Barnes & Noble as well. And this one contains, let me see, 5 Weeks in a Balloon, A Journey to the Center of the Earth, From Earth to the Moon, Round the Moon, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Around the World in 80 Days, and The Mysterious Island. So the only one I've read of these books is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is one of my favorite classics, and Around the World in 80 Days was one of my favorite like movies when I was a kid. The animated version, of course, and this is just so beautiful, and I really need to read more of his books. I have a classics that I've read like 13 times, but I haven't read this edition, which is why it's on this shelf. But this is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, and this edition is called Macmillan Collector's Library, and I got this one from my friend Jamie, and it's so beautiful, and I love the colored edges. And then we have The Snow Queen and Other Winter Tales. And this is by Hans Christian Andersen, the Brothers Grimm, Charles Dickens, Louisa May Alcott, and Oscar Wilde. And selections from Andrew Lang's Colorful Fairy Books and Alexander Dumas, among others. So this is beautiful, also Barnes & Noble, and I've had these books for so long and I still haven't read them. And we have Hans Christian Andersen Classic Fairy Tales, same publisher still. First ones of these editions that I bought, and this is Beauty and the Beast and Other Classic Fairy Tales, and it's so beautiful. I started reading this for like 2 pages, but I mean, look at the end papers, they're so gorgeous. And we also have The Little Mermaid and Other Fairy Tales by Hans Christian Andersen, which is one I actually started reading, The Little Mermaid, couple of years ago, made it to page 16 and then decided to pick up something else. I don't know why, because this is gorgeous and I do love fairy tales, so we'll see when it's. I have this beautiful edition from the Vintage Classics, and this is the Jane Austen like author specific edition then, and this is Sense and Sensibility, which I haven't read yet, but it's so beautiful. And then we have Rilla of Ingleside by Ellen Montgomery. This is the final book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and I still haven't picked it up, even though I finished the other books like 2 years ago, a year and a half maybe. This is the Arcturus edition. I have one of my newer purchases, and that is Lord of the Flies by William Golding, and this is the Penguin Classics Deluxe edition. Technically, I have read this book when in high school, so it was a couple of years ago, so I have read it, but I just thought it was a really good book, so I wanted to own it and hopefully sometime we read it. And then we have Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes, and this is the Word Cloud Classics. I have Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy in the same edition. I'm currently reading this. I'm on page 48. Tests of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. And we have The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is the Penguin Classics. The Odyssey by Homer, Barnes & Noble. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, also Barnes & Noble. And this is a hunker, but at some point I will read a Charles Dickens book. I promise you. And this is from Novelix, which is a Swedish sort of novella store. This is 4 American classics. Nattsidan by Joyce Carol Oates. And Huset Ushers Undergång by Edgar Allan Poe. The Sällsamma fall Benjamin Button by F. Scott Fitzgerald. And Johnny Panic och Drömbibel by Sylvia Plath. So I have read the Edgar Allan Poe one. I think that's the only one, to be fair. I really need to read this because I got this sort of an graduation present from my friends when I finished university, and I feel like crap for not having read them yet. And we have, I think, one of my favorite editions, but that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I read Jane Eyre like 3 times, I want to say, plus the series, like the illustrated comic version. But this edition is called Chiltern Classics, and it's so beautiful and shiny, and I want to own every single classic in this edition. And I only own one, so that's something to work on. I have 3 plays. So we have Romeo and Juliet, The Taming of the Shrew, and Hamlet, all by William Shakespeare. And this is the Pelican Shakespeare editions, so they're really pretty and I do like them. And I did start reading Romeo and Juliet, so I'm like 1/3 into it, but didn't get further than that. I have some books, Wordsworth editions, so I guess these are the newer editions than the Oliver Twist I had. But this is The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grama. And they're so cute. Now, of course, we have Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, because I need to have all the Alice editions, of course. And then we have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, which I've never read either. And then we have Little Men and Joe's Boys by Louisa May Alcott. This is the Virago Modern Classics editions. So this is book 3 and 4th in the series about Little Women. And I read the first 2, but obviously not read these yet. And since I got a little bit obsessed with Ella Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables, I decided to read some more books from her. And these are also in the Virago Modern Classics, all of them are. But we have Jane of Lantern Hill, Emily's Quest, Emily Climbs, and Emily of the New Moon. I have no idea which order. This is a standalone, I believe, and then these 3 are a trilogy. And then we have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, illustrated by Julia Sarda. And she also illustrated my Mary Poppins, I want to say. But it's just really cute edition of it. And this is from 2 Hoots books. I think belongs to Macmillan, if I'm not correct. Oh yeah, so it's an imprint of Macmillan. And we have Tjänstekvinnan som by August Strindberg. This is the short edition, I think it's called. And we have Löwenskiölds ringen, Charlotte Löwenskiöld och Anna Svärd by Selma Lagerlöf. And this is Albert Bonnier förlag. And we have Samlade noveller by Edgar Allan Poe. And Den unge Wertherslidande by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. These are both by Sjösala förlag. Technically, Den unge Wertherslidande I read in English when I was like 12. Maybe no, I think I read it in Swedish actually, but I read it like when I was like 12 and it was not like the newest translation or anything, so I think I should read it. Then we have this beautiful edition. This is the Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's so shiny. Look at that. And this is of course Barnes & Noble, and I have read the first book in this, which is the first novella about Sherlock Holmes, which is called Studying Scarlet. Yes, so I did read that one. I really enjoyed it, gave it 4 stars I think. So I really should continue on with the rest, but there's a lot of them. And then we have this beautiful, so this is the complete works of William Shakespeare. The only ones I've read, besides 1/3 of Romeo and Juliet, I've read Hamlet twice for school. But that's about it. But this is the beautiful edition at least. So this collects all of his 37 plays, 154 sonnets, and 4 narrative poems. And this is Race Point Publishing, and this is what they called a Knickerbocker classic. I have some special editions that were limited, and this is Charles Dickens with A Tale of Two Cities, and we have Withering Heights by Emily Bronte, which I've technically read, just not this edition, and I felt like I should, you know, reread it. They still have the plastic jackets on because I'm afraid I will ruin them, but technically you're supposed to take them off. This is Thomas Nelson, which is a registered trademark of HarperCollins, and this is the Seasons editions in winter, and they only published like 10,000 of each, and this was book 3,605, and this was, let me see, 409 of 10,000. And we have, you guessed right, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, because I'm obsessed. It's one of my favorite classics. And then we also have Persuasion by Jane Austen, which, like I said before, I have 2 copies of, and I've read none of them ever. And then of course we also have the Wonderland collection by Lewis Carroll, which is basically all of his works I think. Then we also have The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And all of these are in the same edition as the previous ones talked, this season edition, but this is summer editions. So this one came out in this is book 7,490. So yeah, I'm sweating bullets because it's 5 billion degrees warm. But yeah, those are all of my unread classics, like I told you. And of course I read a lot of classics, but they're on my other shelves, which you will see in a bookshelf tour at some point. But yeah, I hope you guys like this sort of short TBR tour of my classics. And if you read any of these books, please let me know down below what you thought about them, so maybe I can bump them up on my TBR and read them sooner. But yeah, I hope you guys had a fun time watching this video, and I hope we see each other in the next one. Bye!